Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have a special guest. He's the author of the book Falling Down, Getting Up, no other than Mr. Michael Harris.
Thanks, Daniel. I'm really excited to be here to talk about my book and to maybe give some insight to the audience on um, falling down, getting up, and how to get back up no matter what.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Michael, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. I mentioned to you before the call that I live in a place where after the call, I'm going to go cross country skiing downtown. And the reason I say that really in relationship to the book is because in 1986, I could barely walk. I was on a cane. I could walk maybe 10 feet. They told me that they were going to amputate my legs, and I told them no way. And I left the hospital against medical advice, and I've never gone back. And so just the idea of being able to, 37, almost 38 years ago now, to still be able to walk and to move and to have my legs is to me remarkable. And, that's what the book is about is a little bit about my story, but also about giving hope to people that whatever is going on in their lives right now may not be going on in their lives next year or 10 years or 40 years for that matter.
Mr. Michael Harris, thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. So, can you describe the accident at age 12 that led losing more than half of your liver?
Yeah, that was really my first big fall in life, other than the normal scrapes as a kid. But I was in a water skiing accident at 12 years old. I was a hotshot water skier, and I would I would do beach landing sometimes, and I came in hard and fast on a beach landing, and I went head over heels. And at first, the doctor said that I was okay and that I was just bruised up. And but the next day, I was in surgery, and they were taking out more than half my liver, gallbladder, cracked ribs, 21 blood transfusions, and I was in a coma for almost 2 weeks. But I got to tell you something, Daniel. I still woke up with a smile on my face. Can you believe it?
I believe you, Mr. Michael. So, what motivated you to write Falling Down, Getting Up?
Well, a lot of people kept telling me that, what I had gone through was pretty remarkable and miraculous. I don't necessarily like the word miraculous, but after my accident and a little bit, later as a teenager, I started drinking too much. Can you believe it? After having half my liver taken out, and then got into some trouble around that, which is in the book as well. And then I had the surgery of my legs for my blocked arteries in my legs. And somehow, I survived it all. I was still alive and I still made it through. And people kept saying, write your book, write your book, write your book. So I jokingly would say that it took me 10 years and 79 days to write my book. 10 years in my mind, 79 days to actually write it.
So, at 16, you become an alcoholic. What factors contributed to this, and how did it affect your relationships and daily life?
Wow, that's a great question, a powerful question too. And the first part, I don't know if I can answer why, you know, drinking and alcoholism develop in some people and other people that are perfectly okay. I have family members that run treatment centers and long term treatment centers. And I don't know. I mean, you can say, oh, it's genes, or you can say you drank too much, but why did you drink too much is really the question. Was it the chicken or the egg? It's kind of hard to answer, but you know, it really affected every part of my life, all my relationships, my work, my health. And, I'm 27 years old and I could barely walk. I mean, I was down and out. They didn't expect me to live. It was time to go get a cemetery plot or something. I mean, it was that close. Yet once everything changed, and I've been sober since 30, so I've been sober as of this conversation 36 years, my life is totally different. I've come back alive. I can go up and down any mountain I want today. Everything has changed.
Totally miracle, Mr. Michael. So, facing vascular disease at 27, you nearly lost your legs. How did this health crisis influence your journey toward recovery and self discovery?
Wow, you ask really great questions, Daniel.
Thank you.
Yeah, you just right jumping right in, which is great. When I left the hospital on a cane, and I had a couple of the best surgeons in the world that technically knew how to do the surgeries that were necessary on my legs, or thought that were necessary on my legs, but they wanted to do more surgery, and they said I'd lose my legs and die. Well, I ended up at another doctor, and he just said, "Get up and walk." And I said, "What do you mean, get up and walk?" And he says, "Just start getting up and walking." And this was down in Santa Monica on the beach down there on the boardwalk between Santa Monica Pier and Marina Del Rey. And I would start walking 10 feet, and there's a little wall there between the sidewalk and the beach. And I'd walk 10 feet, sit down because it hurts so much. I'd walk 11 feet, sit down, etc. And within 2 weeks, I was able to walk 2 miles without pain. And I started realizing that, you know, our life and, our healing is really up to us. It's up to us to make that decision about whether or not we're going to give up or not, whether or not we're going to keep moving forward. So, whenever, even today, I can get down or depressed or uncertain about something, and I just think, okay, what action can I take to overcome that fear or to overcome that doubt? So it's affected me in so many different ways.
Throughout your struggles, Mr. Michael, what role did the family and friends play in your healing and personal growth?
Well, my father passed early. He passed in 85. But he gave me a lot of insights in life and such. He was an entrepreneur, and taught me so much in that area. My mom, in many ways, you know, I credit her for teaching me grit and some willingness, and even if other people may not like what you're doing, but what you're doing is right, then keep going forward, right? And so I
Yes.
learned that from my parents, and then over the years, I have a great group of friends that today that I spend a lot of time with, and we go out and play and we encourage each other. When I say play, I live in a playground, in the mountains in Oregon, and we ski and bike and hike and kayak and do all sorts of things. Big off trail guy. I don't like hiking on trails. I like to find my own path, Daniel. So if there's anybody out there listening, it's like I learned that it's not always good to follow somebody else's path. That sometimes we just have to find our own path and be willing to accept that we can forge ahead regardless of whether or not we're following somebody else's trail.
Beautifully articulated, Mr. Michael. Very well said. So, how did you find your inner strength to overcome these significant challenges, and what strategies did you employ to stay resilient?
I would say that there was a point, Daniel, in 1988, and I'd been sober for a couple of months or a couple of years, 23 months, and I ended up drinking one night, and um, sometimes when some people drink, such as myself, you don't know what's going to happen, and once you take that first drink, you can't stop. And so I drank until I passed out, and I ended up in the hospital the next morning. And a friend came to me and said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yeah." I knew exactly what he meant. I had been really mad at God for a long time because I thought God was not doing a very good job with things. And um, I recognized, though, that at the time, that it was the only place to go, that I could no longer do this on my own, that I needed outside help, that I needed God, that I needed people. So I really believed that God lifted me back up and kept me alive. And it's why I'm still alive, you know, today. You know, I'm grateful and I'm blessed to still be here, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are blessed indeed, Mr. Michael. So, in this book, Falling Down
Yep.
in Life, how do you define this concept and why it is important for personal development?
How do I define the concept of falling down, getting up?
Yes.
Um, there's a couple different ways that I look at it, and in the front of the book, I kind of in the intro, I mentioned about how when I was a little kid, a child, really a baby that was just beginning to walk, and you know how little kids they get up and walk and they grab the couch and then they still fall over, but they giggle and the parents giggle, but you still get back up again. And I think sometimes when we fall today, what, regardless of what it is, relationship, we get a health scare, financial, so many different things that are constantly happening in our lives that seem to be a struggle. Yet we can just get right back up again. It's like Price Pritchard in his book, U Squared. He talks about a fly that he noticed in a window one day. And the fly, was looking out the window trying to get out and, kept knocking his head, knocking his head, knocking his head. We've all seen flies do that and they end up dying on the windowsill. Yet there was a door 10 feet away that all the fly needed to do was to turn around and fly out the door and he'd be outside. And I think that that's true in our lives too, is we struggle, we think we know this way and we keep hitting our head and hitting our head and hitting our head. Yet if we just turn, we can just go out the door and we're okay. So when we're falling down, why not just get back up? You know,
Definitely, yes.
if a little baby, was walking on the couch, holding the couch, and fell, and decided that he or she was never going to get back up again, none of us would be even walking.
Mhm. For sure.
Yeah,
We need to help
yeah,
those people.
yes.
So how has your understanding of vulnerability and strength evolved through your experiences?
Wow. Another great question, Daniel. How is my experience of vulnerability? One of the things that I realized today, um, and you can call it vulnerability or honesty or willingness, that especially with my group of friends and family and such, is you know hey, this is what's going on, rather than like having that face mask on all the time. It's like being willing to talk about my emotions, being willing to talk about my struggles, being willing to talk about these things. And I find that when I do that, and um, as a listener, you may be doing this too, but I find that it releases that energy of whatever it is that I'm struggling with or worried about. And so vulnerability is almost like a superpower, right? Rather than a weakness. Some people say it's a weakness. I say it's a superpower.
Indeed. Superpower.
Uh,
So, how did your journey influence your views on mental health and the importance of seeking help?
yeah. Um, One of the things that I did, I have not been diagnosed particularly with any mental health issues. That doesn't mean that I don't have them or have had them, because I think we all go through those periods of time. You know, I also started yoga way back in the 80s as well, and I've practiced since 1987, so 37, 38 years almost for practicing yoga, and I've taught yoga and I've owned yoga studios. And, I find that, at least for me, for my mental health, part of what I need to do is to find that stillness, and yoga really helps me do that. And I see it in the students I've had and my friends, and all of that, that also either they practice yoga or meditation. And a meditation doesn't necessarily even need to be sitting in a lotus pose somewhere. It can be walking down the trail, the calmness. It could be waxing your car. Some people get into kind of a calm state when they do that. So it can really be anything. But I find that, I need to do my practice 3 to 5 times a week on a regular basis. I've practiced every day for at one point for many years, but today it's 3 to 5 times a week. And, you know, like I mentioned a little while ago, after this, I'm going to go skiing downtown, cross country skiing from my home to downtown. And even that, just getting out into, it's sunny today. We had a couple of inches of snow last night, and just moving my body, you know, changes the endorphins, the adrenal glands, all sorts of things are happening internally, which is helping my mental health, which is keeping me calm, which is keeping me relaxed. And I tend to be known as the calm, relaxed person, even in the midst of the storms. And because we all have storms. But what can somebody do? And if you're listening, what can you do um, to help calm the storms in your life? And I don't think it's difficult. Most of the practices that I incorporate are easy: walking, skiing, yoga. They don't cost anything, they don't require a doctor. It just requires that willingness to find something that works for you, that's going to help you calm. The breathing, I mean, we can spend all day, Daniel, just talking about this. That's a great topic.
So, Mr. Michael, what would be your advice for those people out there who want to get up in their middle or in the midst of their storm?
Yeah. I think it comes back to that willingness. The, I realized later on, and this has happened 3 times in my life that I know of. Maybe it's happened more, but that doctor down in Santa Monica that said, "Don't worry about it. Just get up and walk." Right? I had a yoga teacher tell me, one of my yoga teachers from India, and he would say, "Don't worry about it. Forget about it. Just do your yoga." And then I know another doctor, and he says, "Nothing's wrong with you. Just get up and just live your life." And I think it's so easy to get caught up in this idea that something is wrong with us. And even if, we have a broken arm or we have a health condition, nothing is wrong. It's perfect exactly the way it is. And it's like, once I recognize that this idea that to cease fighting anybody or anything, I changed my language from saying I have to fight this disease, or I can only do one battle at a time. I dropped all that language because I found that that fight attitude kept me in that place. And once I let it go, once I stopped worrying about it and forgot about it, my healing happened. Even with my yoga teacher, I mean, it was 12 years of pain. And I went to him and says, "How do I get rid of the pain?" He said, "Don't worry about it." I go, "What? Don't worry about it?" But I am. It hurts. Yes, I know. Don't worry. Forget about it. And literally 12 years of pain went away in about 2 weeks.
So, Mr. Michael, how did your experience shape your current approach to life and decision making?
One of the things that I've discovered is really the power of story. I wrote my first book, Falling Down, Getting Up. We all have stories. You have stories. As a listener, I'm sure you've got great stories too. And you know, we used to sit around campfires, a couple 100,000 years ago, maybe not quite that long, but we'd sit around in circles and tell stories. Oh, I went and got this saber-toothed tiger today. You couldn't believe it. I got this. And then, oh, the kids did this today. Da, da, da. And that sharing, and I heard you ask earlier about the vulnerability, is that being open. It's really sharing our stories. And I believe that the more that we share our stories today, Daniel, the closer we're going to be. Instead of all the division that seems to be appearing from time to time, it's like, what can we do to come closer together? Rather than separating. And part of it is that vulnerability and that willingness to share and just talk about our stories and recognize the similarities rather than the differences.
So, Mr. Michael, what will be your short term and long term goals in writing?
Ah, well, my short term goals is I'm about ready to write another book. And the book, and I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, um, where it's the working title of the book is Trails Are for Tourists. And it came to mind when Buddy and I were up on a ridge line, and we hike off trail mostly. And some of the trails where I am, a lot of tourists are on the trail. So we were joking that tourists are for trails. I mean, trails are for tourists. And a light bulb came on in my head that it's really about finding our own path and our own trail. So, like in life, my short term goal in the next 90 days, I will write this book, depending upon when this is released. But so that's really a short term goal. My long term goal, I help people also get their stories out and get their stories published. So my long term goal is, to help as many authors get their stories out they want. And everybody is an author. They may not realize it, but I believe that we all have the ability to do anything we want in our life if we just learn how to do it. We already have the tools. We already know how to do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Good luck to your goals, Mr.
Thank,
Michael.
thank you, Danny.
So, what role did the spirituality or personal belief play in your journey of overcome adversity?
Uh, Number one, it 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 helped me recognize who I am. It helped me recognize what another friend of mine would say is what you want wants you. So, like these hopes and desires and dreams that bubble up within us are also like within the greater realm of, like maybe little nudges, like, hey, the universe, God, however you want to call it, spirit, I believe is helping bring those things to the surface and giving us an opportunity to um, excel in those areas, so to speak.
So, how do you continue to apply the lessons learned from your past challenges in your daily life today?
Yeah. Um, well, first of all, it's, like everybody else, I repeat the same mistake more than once sometimes, so to speak. or maybe I should let me remove that um, term mistake. Repeat the same experience because we all do it sometimes, and sometimes it takes a few more experiences to recognize that maybe we should go down this other path or this other road. And so that's one of the ways that I do it, but also learning from the experience of you know togetherness and gracefulness and gratitude and happiness and joy. Because I mean, for most of us, and I don't know if you feel this way, Daniel, or the listeners, is that we're either running away from pain or running towards happiness, towards joy. We're kind of going back and forth from that. And I know sometimes, I will like sit on a, not literally, but figuratively, I will like sit on a nail sometimes, but it's easier to stay sitting on the nail, right? Than to get
Yes.
up. I can sit on the nail, oh, poor me, poor me. Or I can just be like that fly and just get up and turn the other direction.
Certainly. So, Mr. Michael, before we wrap up our discussion today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, in its fifth season, people, with my co-host, Chef Alessandro, one of the specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. Please do listen to our latest episode. We read all our letter senders. So please do listen, Food 101. So, Mr. Michael, what future projects or goals do you have, and how have your past experiences influenced them?
Well, I did mention the upcoming book that I'm writing, and perhaps by the time this show is out, there will be more information out there about that book, which can be found on my website. But that's really like a big one. I've got another book after that. I know at least another book. So I'm really excited, not just about this next book, but the book after that too. And so I'm excited about that. I want to keep moving my body. Right now at this time, I'm 66 years old and I'm in great shape. I can go up and down any mountain, and I'm going to keep doing that as long as I can. And I moved to the area that I live in 20 some years ago specifically to get outside. I need to get outside in nature, in the trees, in the mountains, around the lakes, in the snow, as well as on the other side of me, 20 miles away, the other way is the desert. And it's really just, as long as I keep moving my body, they say a body in motion stays in motion. And so I need to keep doing that.
Yes, so Mr. Michael Hurry, thank you so much again for sharing your talents to the world and your books. Thank you for empowering us. And we are looking forward for more empowering books to come. So can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Yes, absolutely. The best place to find out about me is just go to my website, www.michael, B as in books, Harris.com. And as a special gift to your listeners, if somebody wants to download a free ebook, a copy of Falling Down, Getting Up, let's just go to ebook.michaelbharris.com and you can download a free copy of the book.
Mr. Michael, thank you so much. Let's support Mr. Michael Harris because if you support him, more empowering books to come. So, Mr. Michael, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Daniel, it was great to be here.
More to come, people. See you soon. Mr. Michael, I'm inviting you again to come back next month or next week. If you have time, let's talk about your other books.
Sure, wonderful.
Just go to my booking calendar and just
Okay.
book for the time. I'm fully booked for this week.